Following Sue Gray's appointment as Keir Starmer's new Chief of Staff, we are now hearing that Gray's secret meetings with the Labour Party and Keir Starmer when she was still a civil servant has broken the civil service's impartiality rules. Well, this isn't really that surprising, but it's important to talk about it now that we have other top civil servants coming out to make their own judgment over this whole saga. It's important to say that we have been covering this appointment of Sue Gray as Starmer's new Chief of Staff over the last couple of days. For those, in case you haven't been following, a reminder, Sue Gray was the top civil servant in the Cabinet Office. She was also the Partygate investigator that her report resulted in Boris Johnson and others receiving a fine. All that, which has now been undermined now that we know more about the reports and, of course, the Privileges Committee. That aside, this whole saga has not just undermined the Labour Party, it's also undermined the civil service, which had already different issues over the last few years, which we've been talking about. But we now have other civil servants, top civil servants, like permanent secretaries, including the permanent secretary at the Department of Education, Susan Ackland-Hood. In a Zoom call to officials, she reminded them of their duty to impartiality. And the whole issue was because she was saying that, she told the civil servants that the appointment of Sue Gray as Sir Keir's Chief of Staff is a real challenge to acting in a way that deserves and retains the confidence of ministers. Because civil servants are there to serve the ministers, not the opposition. She says, if anybody receives contact from the leader of the opposition or a member of the shadow cabinet, you should tell your permanent secretary right away. So now they feel the pressure. Now that Sue Gray has exposed this toxic relationship between the political class and civil service, so now we have people like her coming out saying, well, we have to be more careful now because we're getting exposed. The public are seeing us for who we actually are. So maybe it was a good thing that this happened. Maybe it was a good thing that some people who are not really following political news on a regular basis are now hearing more about the culture, the toxic culture in Westminster Village. So we've also had reaction from the Tory side. We had Ben Bradley, the Conservative MP for Mansfield, who is very sound, has come out to say that it's not just Conservative MPs who have concerns over this appointment. It is now clear that even senior civil servants are worried about its impact on Whitehall's impartiality. In order to have taken this job, Sue Gray must have been talking to Keir Starmer's office about applying for the role and all that is involved in that. It continues by saying that, therefore, during her time as a civil servant, she has actively been engaged with the Labour Party. Well, obviously, and that's the thing. And ministers didn't know about it, or anybody else in her department. And she does say that it is improper and could represent a serious breach of the rules. But as I said, it might actually be a good thing that this has finally happened, because these sort of things were happening on a regular basis, not necessarily civil servants getting a job at the Labour Party, but talking about the toxic relationship, the secret meetings behind closed doors, and many other things. Maybe this is finally going to be unveiling this weird mask that has been the impartiality of civil service. We know that they're not all impartial. We know there are a lot of politically motivated leftists in the British civil service with their own agenda that have been a complete obstacle to a lot of progress and policy that could have been good for the country over the last few decades, not just talking about now. But we are where we are now. So let me know what you think of this whole saga. I'm Mahyar, Tousi, and we are the media.